A very big hello and welcome to everyone to tonight's stream. I'm Ryan Hill in the booth for you, covering tonight's official stream of SimRace South Africa, the simTC series. We are back for round 5 out of 6. It's the penultimate round of the entire championship. So things are hotting up at the sharp end of the field. We'll be having a look at the championship standings a little bit later, and you can have a look at who's in the running, gunning for that top spot, or perhaps podium, or maybe even top 10. Everyone has their own personal goals. So we'll have a look at where that's going in a little bit. You can hear the cars in the background. I'll skip over to the main feed very shortly. And what you will see here, we are at a new track at SimRace South Africa tonight. We are at Barbagallo, previously known as the, previously known as the Wanneroo Raceway, or Wanneroo Park. It was since renamed to Barbagallo Raceway after a prominent West Australian motorsport identity, Alf Barbagallo, sponsored essentially the circuit upgrade and extensions. So that was his involvement. We'll get to that in a sec. We have a bumper field tonight, as you can see from the timing board, just in the last few seconds of the practice session. 26 drivers out on track, excluding myself, sitting at the bottom of the log there in the sort of pace car, if you will. So a nice big field. There you can see the Yellow Design Co. sponsored Merc livery, just chilling in the pits. Cars going past the main back straight just in the dying seconds. So yeah, it's a very short track, which we'll get to a little bit in depth. We've got a track guide coming up by Nick Hodson. He'll take you through what an onboard lap looks like, but it's essentially a very quick lap, under a minute. So expect some fireworks tonight, especially with the size of the field. We've got essentially all drivers across all divisions racing in this race tonight in one big division, just because we didn't have a lot of guys completing Division 2. I think if we had to separate them, there would only be something like 3 drivers or 4 drivers in Div 2. So we decided to just sneak them in to the tail end of Div 1, give everyone a chance to have a go. Currently in overtime. We're going to flick over to qualifying in a little bit. What I'll do very quickly is I'll take you through the track layout, so you can see it in a little bit more detail, a zoomed in view essentially. There you can see it's looks quite simple. So if we start from the left hand side of the main pit straight, essentially heading down into T1, then there's a little bit of a T2, 3, 4 sort of complex. You want to go and straighten that out as much as possible. Coming through to T5, down into C6, the long sort of looping hairpin back onto the back straight that goes up and over the hill. There's a lot of elevation changes in this track that you'll see very shortly. Down into that final corner 7, just before the main straight again. Looking at the weather today, you can see in the skies, they're quite blue and clear. We're racing at 1 o'clock Australia time. The temperature is 23 degrees Celsius. Track temperature is a couple of degrees above that, 25, but very grippy, starting up with the 99 with a gain of every 5 laps. I mean, that's already happened over the practice session, essentially. You can see that in the top left of your screen, where it says the track is currently sitting at optimum 100%. There's also a bit of a strong wind. It's a 24 kilometers per hour southerly wind, so with all the straightaways on the track, that may play quite a bit of an impact as we see all the cars piling out of the pits. Now we'll flick it on to Nick Hodson just in the background while we get going. Having a look at the HLQ times, so this is essentially the hot lap qualifying, what drivers did throughout the past week, trying to jostle for position and make sure they qualified for the race tonight. And fortunately, everyone you see on screen has qualified. So you can see there the top times that we can potentially expect. Nick Hodson topping the charts in the 58.854. Hardest voice of 59.0 dead, essentially. James Leach as nearest, makes no difference to that. Same with Charles Wilkin. And there they go all the way down to the bottom of the field. Ralph Lee with a 1 minute 0.9. So only really about just around thereabouts 2 seconds slower than Nick Hodson across the entire field, so there's not much in it, and difference that is. So it's certainly going to be an interesting challenge tonight, I think, and potentially whoever has the most consistency and can keep it clean has a very good chance of doing very well here tonight. Before we go to the hot lap guide, just an overall look at the championship standings. This again, reminder, being round 5 out of 6. So yeah, just this event tonight and then the finale to come, and this is how they're stacking up so far. We've got Sean Bingham topping the points table at the moment. Sas van der Wees is just a few points behind that, and then Mike Leroux currently putting in 3rd, and then as the rest you can see. How's Mean Guy in chat, HLQ stands for Hot Lap Qualifying. So essentially, just flicking back to the HLQ times for the week, drivers get the entire week, Monday to Sunday, to put in their fastest lap time on essentially the practice or qualifying servers. And what we normally do is to make sure that people do at least 15 laps to qualify for the race. And if we have many drivers, we use that as a means for splitting them into multiple divisions. So let's say, the top 20 odd drivers in Division 1, the next 20 odd in Division 2, and so on. So it's just a means of splitting up the field to make sure that there is a similar pace of everyone racing together. We'll enjoy a little bit of a qualifying for now. Just before I go through that hot lap guide, let's just see what the field is doing. So as predicted, Nick Hodson slamming in purple sectors. He's going to come across the finish line now. Purple sectors all the way for a 59.226. Charles Wilkin hot on his tail, a 0.28 difference behind him. James Leach 0.47. I've just got Hardest Boycer banging himself up into 3rd position. So he's done quite nicely for himself so far. And here he goes for Point Blank Racing livery. Stuck behind some traffic at the moment, so I think that is no, that's not Charles Wilkin. He was stuck behind. I'm not entirely sure, but Charles actually just pulled off the track right now. Going to head back to pits. This looks like he's beached the car there. A little bit of a gravel being thrown up by the car's wheels. Here we have Sharon Rajpaul, the Dub Corp livery. Just coming around Shell Corner. Let's see if we can find someone who is on a lap that is improving. Mike Leroux is up 0.3 in his first sector. Mike Leroux racing for BWR Racing, Black Widow. He's coming around turn 6 now, the basin. And onto that long back straight here, you can see those elevation changes I was talking about. It's a little bit of a hump, and then you see going down the hill now, gaining speed all the way. Sector 2 is a little bit down, 0.7, so this is turning out to not be a great lap for him. as he comes around, clipping a little bit of that exit curb, and across the line for a 1 minute .479. Still good enough to hold on to 6 for now. But, yeah, he will certainly be looking to see if he can improve. I'm just going to continue bouncing down the field. Renier Leach looks like he is starting a hot lap now. The sector times will be filtering through. Roxanne Bartle coming through. I've just seen Dirk Brand shoot up to P11, green sectors across the board there for him. Some personal best so far. A couple more shifts. We've just seen Sean Bingham plant himself up into 9th position. And yep, just while we have a little bit of time, I'm going to jump into the Hot Lap Guide, which is presented by none other than Nick Hodson, who's currently sitting in the pits for us. So, yeah, have a look at what an onboard fast lap looks like, courtesy of Nick. Here you go.
Alright, good evening everybody and welcome to round 5 of the Sim Race SA 2022.1 season. We are of course in the simTC League in the Audi TT, and tonight we are at Barbagallo. This lap of course a qualifying lap, so there will be no push to pass on this lap at all. Flying across the line, 5th gear, braking point just by the curb on the left hand side, keeping the car nice and tight through this corner to get an early exit and then straighten this next section up, making the track as short as possible through these S's into 5th gear and then back down to 4th for Shell Corner, keeping the car fairly narrow but getting on the power early. I like an early power exit to absolutely maximize this little section, which is flat out, not going into 6th gear but braking down into the basin. Very tricky corner, trying to use that white curbing as much as possible and getting on the power early and smoothly for a nice exit up and over this hill. Absolutely critical that you get this section right, particularly in the race, because this is where the overtaking maneuver is going to happen. Braking now for the last corner, almost clipping the grass there on my braking point, but you brake slightly early to get a better exit, and here we go across the start finish line for a 59.127.
Alrighty there. That is the fast lap. Thanks, Nick. Still holding the top spot in qualifying with about 7 minutes left to go. Luane, how's it in chat? Just asking, what do you require to partake in this? So I'm going to put a little website link up on your screen right now. SimRace SA, that stands for simracesouthafrica.co.za. If you head over to that, you'll find a link there for how you can find our Discord server, or how you can apply essentially to join. We are at round 5 out of 6 in the current season. Seasons are run 6 months. So January to June. We'll be starting another new season from July to December. You're welcome to join mid-season, but otherwise you can hold out for the next season starting in July. And basically all that you require is obviously you need to own the sim or game itself on PC. So we use this as a Assetto Corsa, which you can find available on Steam. You can also find a couple of other keys from other retailers, such as Humble Bundle or anything else like that as well. And you can come racing for us if you donate a minimum of 150 Rand to the charity that we've selected for the season. This past season we have selected a charity called Abba, their logo being in the bottom right of your screen there, just below the track map. Abba is a specialist adoption and social services. They're an NPO, founded in 1983. They're a designated child protection organization with adoption accreditation for both national and inter-country adoptions. They've told us that around about 20,000 Rand they can basically support one child. And to date for them, we have raised, let's see, 60,822 Rand from Sim Race South Africa. So that's everyone who's raced with us has donated that minimum 150, and collectively we have raised that amount of charity to assist them. So at this stage we have supported at least 3 children get adopted or placed, which is pretty brilliant. I'm really proud to be a part of that. A couple of other charities we've supported in the past include the Grace Factory. We raised just under 40 grand for them, and then the Warmer Angel Township project as well, just under 30 grand. To date, over the last 2 and a bit years, as a grand total at SimRace South Africa, we've raised just over 127,000 rand for charity. So yeah, we're all about that. It's a gentleman's league. We don't take things too seriously, but if you want to race with us, we support the charities. Okay, 4 minutes left of qualifying. Still got Nick holding top spot. Charles currently 0.142 seconds behind him. I'm just coming down the hill there. I'm not sure if he's improved or not. I'm not getting the green or purple sectors showing up on my screen, so we'll have to see as he crosses the line. In fact, no, his lap time currently is reflecting 2:40, so this is essentially an outlap for him. He'll be starting his quick lap now, so we'll stay on board with him as he goes around and just see how he can do. Let's wait for the sector 1 marker to come up, and we'll see. If he's a little bit up on his delta, I think he's basically par for the course. See if he will improve or not. There he's gone purple sector, 020 up on Nick, so let's see if he can keep that momentum going and crush the second sector marker, which will be coming up pretty shortly. We'll see if he's maintained the pace he requires or not. He's a little bit down even on his PB, 0.257, so he's going to have to put in a lot of effort in sector 3 as he crosses the line. We'll have to see how he does. Coming around the long sweeping T7, just missing that inside exit curb, and he puts in another 0.109 down, so he hasn't managed to improve and stays P2 for now. Bingham holding on to P3 position there, also not improving on that lap for now. 3 minutes left, so just a couple of flyers left. Hardest Boyce is up on a PB here. Look at that, 0.006 up on sector 1. Let's see what he can do in sector 2, which is just after the exit of T6. That should pop up shortly. I think there it is, 0.157, so still improving. That's very good. Doesn't need to improve too much to actually jump a place up and replace Sean Bingham. So let's see if he can keep this momentum down. I think he's losing a little bit of time into T7 there. See as he comes across the line, and it's not enough to dethrone that P3 for now. Sas van der Veste is meanwhile coming across the line now. Also does not improve, but does maintain 5th position for now. A little bit of a lock up as you see the smoke of the tyres there, just coming around that turn 1 bend, going now through the T2 and 3 Biante S's, T4 Shell corner, little left-hander now, hugging that inside line through Barbagallo corner or Skyline. And heading up and down over the hill to turn 6 Coal corner, or the basin, as it loops all the way around onto that back straight. Now we're going to have a quick look on board with them. As we see, we'll go up the hill, crest it, and then down the hill. We can keep an eye on the top speed in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. Turn 6, turn 11, 14, 214 k's an hour until he has to hop on the brakes. And oof, gets all squiggly over those exit curbs. That is not going to help his time. As I say that, it gets a purple sector, but I believe he could have gone a little bit quicker if he didn't hop those curbs and maintain traction. So yeah, certainly showing some promise there, Goal Sass. Quickly skip down the field, have a quick look at everyone, how everyone's getting along. Some very nice camera views presented in this track map as well, some nice distant ones. Yep, James the Red, thanks also just chipping in. Obviously this is a sim racing league, so the majority, if not all drivers, especially in Division 1, are going to be having wheels and pedals as opposed to handheld controllers. which are doable in sims, but really not the best experience, and especially for consistency, and then especially doing things like catching spins and so on, or whenever it goes wrong, you know, that's when it becomes really difficult to translate that if you don't have a wheel and pedals. But it's also a lot about the immersion, you know. As a sim racer myself, we really want to try and replicate as far as possible, you know, the feel and thought of taking a real-life racing car around the track. And you know, you ideally you want something like triple monitors or VR or a big nice ultra-wide screen perhaps, but otherwise you can just be like myself. I have a 24-inch monitor, got a wheel, a Logitech wheel clamped to my desk, and you can go racing. Nothing wrong with that at all. Oh, we see Rennie Alicia doing a lot of farming here across the track, just trying to re-merge safely. As we see the Vegemite hot air balloon there in the background. I wonder if he doesn't have time. We're essentially in overtime now, so he won't have time to complete another valid lap. We see all drivers on pit here. Clive Hofart out on track is not going to be improving. Is down on his lap time, so is Richard Rami. Roxanne Bartle is on an out lap, so she's not going to be improving. Christy Simon is stuck in the grass, so he's not going anywhere for now. So I think, as you see it there, Richard Ram finishing his lap, he's not going to improve. Roxanne, yeah. So that is essentially your starting grid. We've got Nick Hodson taking pole position, Charles Wilkin, who is 0.2 seconds down on him, taking the second of the top row. Hardest Boyce and James Leach going to be taking second row of the grid. Sean Bingham and Sas van der Wees stays just behind them. So we'll have a little bit of overtime now. I'm going to quickly go to a short ad break, and when we get back, we'll be racing. Catch you now. Alright, there we are back, and cars are going to be forming on the grid. So as you look at my little pace car, we'll hop to the front of the grid right now. As it gets formed, I'm just going to make sure that we have... Yep, one thing interesting to note, 20 seconds left. On the timing tile, you'll see a green strip next to each driver's name. And if you at least viewing it in HD, you'll see a number in there starting with 15 for the top 6 drivers. 7th position gets 16 and down, 13th 17, 19th gets 18. We are 6 lights, red, and away they go. We are racing at Barbagallo Raceway. We see Nick, he's had a bit of a slow start, and Charles got the good jump on him. He's actually got the nose in front right now, coming around Cat Corner. That's T1. We're going to stay with this nice wide angle as we see the cars filtering. It looks like a relatively clean start for the rest of the field. Let's continue this wide angle view as we get the good look at the field coming through. Oh, it looks like someone's out on the grass there. We're going to have a close look. Was that Sas van der Wees going wide? Not 100% sure, but they certainly are all filled in with each other right now. And looking pretty good there. So Nick Hodson, Grumpy Monkey Simp Racing, is now tucked in behind Charles Wilkin. Had a really slow start there, and we'll have to see if we can get back past Charles later in the race. As I was saying, with those green numbers, you can see a couple of them flicking orange and blue now. These cars have what we call push to pass, which the driver can use at strategic times to inject a few extra horsepower into the motor, and they can use that to attack or to defend. We see the brakes glowing real hot on Nick's car there as he slams on anchors into T1. The field maintaining position largely until the mid-pack I see a couple of cars shuffling down. I'm going to jump down the order here. We see James Leach Sr. in yellow and white beer livery just behind Roxanne Bartle for Grumpy Monkey Academy. And looks like they are going through. Jono Mervis just behind them. Looks like he's made that move on Jono Leach Sr. James Leach Sr. Apologies. He was also coming past Ryan van Weg, now that blue car for Holson Breads, Holson Motorsports. Coincidentally, the YouTube thumbnail livery. Quick look back up the field. We've got Sas van der Wesen. Doesn't look like he's going past Sean Bingham. There's a couple of swappings there. It's almost interesting. It's just like as if he was letting someone go by. But here we have two cars side by side. That looks like the BWR Racing livery of Mike LaRue going side by side with one of the Leach races in the yellow livery. That's Renia Leach. I'm just going through the S's there. They'll want to try and straighten that up as much as possible. Still practically side by side, but now, oof. They're actually side by side now, but Renia sneaks his nose in front, just in front of Mike LaRue, who is certainly going to be licking his chops. I wonder if I can go back on board. Here we go with Mike LaRue, just behind Renia Leach. He's trying to get a run on him. He's side by side, coming up and over the hill. They're side by side essentially. You can't sneak in behind without losing a lot of momentum. And he's going to have the benefit of the inside line, Mike LaRue. We'll see if he can maintain that position. Oh, there's a little bit of contact, but they are all keeping their noses pointing in the right direction. A little bit of rubbing is racing there. Fortunately, no pit maneuvers were happening. Who is that in the orange? That is Dirk Brand, who has rocketed his car in front of Renia Leach there in the braking zone. So a nice little position change for him there, up into 8th position, running well. We've got a position change up front. Hardest Boyser. Oh, as we see James Leach, I think, clipping the inside curb and getting all sorts of squiggly action. Let's see. Andre Dippenaar shining fine for Charles Wilkin, who was in the lead, so I missed that position change. Apologies for that. Nick Hodson has managed to find his way back past Charles Wilkin. Nick obviously qualifying on pole, but had an extremely slow start compared to Charles Wilkin, that is, relatively. Charles managing to jump into P1 essentially in the first corner, but it now looks like Nick has reclaimed that position. Anyway, back to the push to passes as well. So I see Nick has got 13 activations left, so he's already used 2. Charles got 14, so he's just used the 1 so far. So they'll be balancing that out across the course of this race, and there's still quite a bit to go, 55 minutes. So what you'll normally see is you see the train of cars, as we see James Leach again making a position change up on Sean Bingham just below. We're going to see if we can look back maybe I can find a rear camera view if you bear with me. Here we go, looking back at Sean Bingham in the Point Blank Racing Audi TT Cup as they come down that main long back straight, the Tate Straight. See Sean Bingham just backing off a little bit there and opting to... Oh, there's a lot of curb that James Leach has caught there. I wonder if that's going to upset his momentum. As Nick Hudson currently puts in the fastest lap of the race so far, 59.6. There they go, through those S-bends. The drivers will really want to straighten that up as much as possible to get as much speed. Oh, someone's turned around. That looked like one of the Point Blank races. I'm desperately trying to find. It looks like Sean Bingham. And I'm not sure who he came into contact with. Mike LaRue from BWR seems like he is waiting for Sean to recover. So that's good showing there from Mike LaRue, abiding by the gentleman's rule of racing here, where if you know you've caused an incident, you feel you're at fault, just being courteous and allowing the other driver to recover ahead of you. In that way also avoiding any sort of steward's penalty, or at least negating it if it's significant enough or not. So kudos for that. We're carrying on racing here. other drivers. You'll see the purple times popping up on the leaderboards as they put in their personal bests. Here we have Simon Mulcair, we're just currently going around with in P18. Looks like he's going a little bit side by side here with Mike. No, that's not Mike Roo. Mike Roo is still trying to make a comeback. The Dub Corp must be Sharen's car. Sharen Raj Paul now. There we go. In P25, so he's actually trying to make a bit of a comeback drive here. So perhaps also, oh, he's gone farming massively, and oh, that's unfortunate. It almost looks like he's managed to exit the track there. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but it does now look like his car is reporting as a DNF. So maybe a little bit of a connection issue there. But off he goes. Okay, closest battle on track right now. Looks like there's a 0.3 Jono Mervis in P10. Just sitting behind Roxanne Bartle. Do love the Vegemite hot air balloon in the background there. Basically the equivalent of Marmite, I believe it is, as opposed to Bovril. Never really liked Marmite myself, it was more a Bovril guy. Couple of push-to-pass activations just ahead of them. Roxanne Bartle and Richard Rame both using push-to-pass, now coming down the main pit straight. You can see orange in the tower is when it's being used, and blue is when it's gone into cooldown mode, so you can't spam that button, of course. It takes about 30 seconds, I believe, before it can be reactivated. A little bit further up the field again, Dirk Brands, orange, white and silver Audi TT Cup tucked in behind James Leach right now, so solid P6, closing up a little bit under braking into the T6 basin. Now looking for a good exit momentum. I wonder if there's a little bit of a slip perhaps, that he might be able to enjoy a bit of a tow coming down the hill, braking hard at T7. Across the line he goes for another lap. Beam Guy and chat asking, are there also ACC races held? Yes, we hold a GT3 series. We call that the simGT. We also hold a Formula Supreme. It's an open wheeler series on AC. That's the simGP series. And we're currently running a series called Sim Legends, which is historic Formula 1 cars, 1950s, basically. So here we see Dirk Brand having a little look, but ultimately opting out of it. Oh, he's gone past. Oh, and there's a little bit of contact. I'm not entirely sure what happened there. It almost looked like Rainier Leach was had lifted or braked or something. It looked like Dirk Brand was just taking that opportunity, but he's going to slip back in there, and I expect there might be a steward's inquiry coming just to have a little closer look at that incident in a little bit more detail and try and determine who was at fault there. Oh, and there's another little bit of contact as a Grumpy Academy car gets side on with whoever that green car was. Apologies, I can't really quite see. I think it was a back marker because it's not coming up on the timing board. Yeah, a little bit of a knock there. So yeah, just talking about the historics again, that's the Sim Legends. Next season we are going to be running the Sim GT series again on ACC, and we'll be continuing the Sim GP series for another 6 months with the Formula Supreme car. It's an excellent car, we've been enjoying that. And you'll have to stay tuned and see what's going to happen with the simTC series that you're watching now. We like to keep things fresh, we like to mix it up, so yeah, spoiler alerts, maybe there's going to be a little bit something different from July onwards. You'll have to stay tuned. Position change now, Stefan Herbst going side by side with Rolf Lee, the two green and white Audi TT Cup cars. Rainier Leach going side by side now with Richard Rahm. Rainier Leach in the yellow Leach racing car, as you can see there, Richard Rahm in the red. We will quickly go on board, looking behind. On board with Rainier Leach, apologies, looking back to Richard. How's it, Yaku? Thanks for joining. Yep, so if you just joined us, we're about 12 minutes into this race, about 48 minutes left to go. At the top of your screen, you can also see that the pit lane is now open. So there's a compulsory pit stop that drivers will need to be doing to change their tires or put in at least a litre of fuel, or both. That is completely up to them. And they need to do that within the next 37 minutes, 10 minutes before close of the race. The pit lane will be closing. And jump back up to Hardest Boyser, currently now in P3. He's 1.5 seconds behind Charles. Look down at Mike McGeer, also racing for BWR in P15. Coming around the basin, and he is chasing down Rolf Lee for position, that green and white Audi just ahead of him. He still has pretty much all of his push-to-pass activations remaining. I think he started on 16, so might start dipping into those as the race goes by. A little bit of a position change here. Clive Hofart going past, no apologies, that's Peter Geldnes going past Clive Hofart, who's in the Grumpy Monkey Academy car. So Peter Geldnes there in the orange and white, just coming through. The other car in the pits, Mike LaRue, now you can see exiting the pits. So he's perhaps taken an early pit stop, maybe repaired some damage. He's going to exit the pits and slots out in P21. Right, what we're going to do now is have a quick look at the progress since the start of the race. So the top 3 positions, even though there have been some swaps, they've settled back into the order that they qualified in. So Nick, Charles and Hardest Boyser. Sas van der Veste is up in P4, has done very nicely for himself. He's gained 2 positions from his qualifying. Just going to quickly go on board with Hardest Boyser, who's tucked in behind what I believe is a back marker. Maybe I can quickly chuck on driver names. Oh, no, actually, apologies, that is Charles Wilkins, so he's fallen right down. Maybe there's a little bit of a mistake by Charles. So this is for position, for P2 specifically. Oh, they're getting awfully close there. Down under braking at T7. And I'm going to keep an eye on the push to passes and see if anyone decides to use one. Both drivers not feeling the pressure to use one just yet. So anyway, as we continue going around there, Sas van der Veste up to James Leach down 1, Rainier Leach up to Richard Rami up 5 positions. Further down the field, John Mervis has gained 8 positions off the start position. Some of the biggest losers, unfortunately, so far, it looks like Sean Bingham's down 13 positions. So he had a bit of an incident and will be looking to make a comeback. So look for his strong recovery, hopefully, over the next 44 minutes. Here's a good look at who's made some stops so far. It's actually reflecting Michael and Peter Geldnes as having stopped twice already. That's quite interesting. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. Okay. So Hardest not putting too much pressure on Shaw at the moment. That gap has opened up a little bit. Actually, to get that to the intervals, there you go. It's 0.6 seconds behind Charles Wilkin at the moment. We'll have a quick look on board. Sas van der Veste is now on P4. He's 2.2 seconds behind this battle, somewhat on his own at the moment. So he'll be looking to just put in some clean and consistent laps. Make sure he's not making any mistakes as he tries to hunt down a podium. How's it, Wes? In chat, looking for the 9th and 10th battle. Good spot. We've got Roxanne Bartle here in P9 for Grumpy Monkey Academy. And just behind her, we see John Mervis in the green and white. Let's have a quick on board. Down into Cat Corner. Just a little bit of a network lag there. It's a little bit jerky, but stay on an external camera then for now. Yaku mentioning the track looks very similar to Monza. I think that's a coincidence. When I read the notes on the track history, I didn't mention anything coming up about being inspired by Monza or anything, so who knows. But yeah, this is Barbagallo Raceway, renamed in 1992 after essentially the upgrades, resurfacing was all funded by Alf Barbagallo, who's a prominent West Australian motorsport identity. Previously known as Wanneroo Raceway, or Wanneroo Park. It's in Western Australia. I think it's basically in Perth, but maybe just outside of Perth. Yeah, about 2.4 kilometers, 7 turns. I believe the race record, as I'm seeing it here, is a 0.52.261. Put in by Gary West in his Lola T8850. Let's see John Mervis here, almost going side by side with Roxanne Bartle. They are now side by side, heading down that main straight, and it does look like John Mervis has the inside line, and he's going to make that position stick. Easy peasy textbook pass, but will Roxanne come back at him? Jono is using his push to pass, has just now gone into the cooldown mode. But it looks like he's managed to make that move stick, running a little wide there. So Roxanne's still going to manage to keep with him. We see Nick Hodgson activating a push to pass right now. Let's just see what's happening up at the front here. Looks like he's going past a back marker there, essentially of the sister team, the Grumpy Monkey Academy car, the sort of grey and white split, and then the multicolored parent team there of Nick himself. Just coming through. So yeah, Wanneroo Park or Barbagallo Raceway, they do have a lot of different forms of Australian motorsport out there. I think probably the Supercars Championship, the Australian V8 Supercar calendar, is probably one of the more prominent racing series to actively and currently race there today. The Australian Grand Prix of 1979 was held at... How good was this? Let me see if I can confirm. Yeah, it was held at Wanneroo, 1979. Okay, let's see. Already got Shalwick and he's 8 seconds behind Nick, but just behind him here we see Hardest Boyser. My camera remote tool is going haywire. Let's see if I can fix this quickly. AC remote tool, apologies, had a little bit of a freak out and was jumping between cars without my explicit instructions. Should now be fixed. I've just reopened and closed and reopened the app. Should now be stable again. As I was saying, Hardest Boyser is 0.7 seconds behind Charles Wilkin. Keep an eye on them. It looks like they're just going back through some back marker traffic there. If I had to put on the relatives, you should be able to see who that is. So now, yeah, Hardest is tucked in behind Charles Wilkin. That was just going past the back marker of Simon Norkia. Overall gaps of the field. So essentially, as you can see, Nick Hudson's basically coming up to lap McLaren probably pretty soon. Okay, we got Renier Leach in P6. Who's coming up for position behind Dirk Brand's orange and white car there. As they come down the main back straight down the hill. Let's see if Dirk, I don't think he's close enough to put any moves on him yet, but they are extremely close, so we'll keep an eye on them over the next lap. In fact, it looks like Dirk might be in trouble here as they come down to T1. Manages to block that position. That is Richard Rahm in the pits, so we'll keep an eye on him. But back up to this fight between Renier Leach and Dirk Brand. There's been an accident here. James Leach Sr.'s off the circuit, so he caught that happening just from the tower, but off track essentially. Also looks like he did that all on his own because I don't see any other cars around him for now. Let's see if anything comes into the stewards afterwards. But so we missed that. Dirk Brand, no, yeah, there he is. Still in front of Renier Leach, holding on to that position. Ramps the curb quite aggressively there at the exit of T7. Through Barbagallo corner T5 Skyline, as it's become known. That is some back marker traffic that they are both getting past there. That looks like one of the Hilton Nickerson's team's cars. Might be Neil Pretorius. No, there's Neil, so it's probably Hilton himself. Yeah, there is Hilton. Just getting out of the way of Dirk and Renier coming through. That looked like a better exit by Renier, but he's not quite close enough as they come down to T1 again. This is on board with Dirk Brand looking behind to Renier Leach at the moment. Let's just see how close Renier can get under the rear wing of Dirk's car. You see also a very nice view of the front end of the OC Brewery liveried Leach Racing cars, TLR. As they come down the straight down the hill into the braking zone. There's a good line there that Dirk managed to get. Down the pit straight, coats to Cat Corner T1. It looks like he's safe for now. No real threat from Renier Leach just yet. None of them using any push to passes on the past few laps. It's remained steady. Dirk has 9 remaining to Renier's 11. We see a couple of cars jostling for position behind here. It is Mike McGeer in the pits, one of the names dropping down the tower order. There's the Wholesome Bread team, Mark Guy. This is for position. The point blank sim racing car of Sean Bingham just behind him is looking very racy, looking for a way past. I think it's going to be into the basin, but let's see if we can get a good run onto that back straight and stay tucked in behind and maybe enjoy a little bit of a slip up and over the hill. Let's see a nice wide angle shot here. T7, they need to remain on that right hand side of that curb, not allowed to run wide. Those will be at the mercy of the stewards. Everyone behaving themselves tonight, it seems, in terms of track limits. Let's back up to the top now. Hardest Boy says 0.5 behind Charles Wilkins, so that gap has come down to half a second, just under half a second now. So with about half an hour remaining in this race, 20 minutes, that pitch lane will remain open. I don't believe we've seen any of the front runners come in just yet. We see a position change, John and Mervis down the field. Looks like they're side by side here coming down the main straight. Oh, there's unfortunate contact there, wow. And I think someone may have just been sent into the shadow realm. Did they go into the pit lane there? That looked like some heavy contact. And not sure if it is John and Mervis who unfortunately got lost there. See Sean Bingham just side by side with Stefan Herbst there, still managing to keep his nose ahead. Back to John and Mervis here, who is still 0.2 seconds behind Ryan van Veek. Ryan van Veek and Mark Guy, teammates in the Holson Motorsports. See Charles Wilkin has just activated his push to pass. He's 9.7 seconds behind Nick Hodson, so maybe he's just deciding to push a little bit. From Hardest Boy to behind. Alternatively, he's maybe on his thinking about coming into the pits, perhaps. Just wanting to push now, retain a good track position. Maybe he's even just looking to get past what this back marker here. If we can flick to the relatives, I can tell you that that is, looks like Rolf Lee ahead of him. No? Is that ahead of Shaw? It's Richard Rom in P19. So he'll need to make sure he doesn't impede Charles too much. Certainly doesn't defend into any sort of corners as the golden rule. Let's just see, there we go, Richard Ron pull off to the side after just clipping that curb. He needs to make sure that he doesn't defend this T1 corner though. There we go. Alright, not sure what's going on with my tower at the moment. Rolf Lee showing 11 at the top there. Let's see if I can shuffle this away. Maybe I can make that work. Let's see. Rolf Lee actually now side by side, just ahead of them. The John Mervis and then Roxanne Bartle's Grumpy Monkey Academy car that you can see there. This is for essentially P10. Rolf Lee being stuck in the middle of all of that. And just ahead of them, Roxanne Bartle sort of leading that train of cars as they come through now. The base and turn onto the back straight. On board with Roxanne Bartle, just looking back at that train of cars. I think she's under a pile of pressure here as Rolf Lee is having a little look up the inside, and I think he's actually got the track position to do it. And makes that position change stick. Actually, Roxanne peels off into the pits, as does look like John Mervis behind her as well. There they coast through the pit lane and come to a stop through a big cloud of smoke. Like a relatively slow stop, but there we go, off he goes again. And where is Roxanne? Roxanne's already out the pits, so that was definitely a slower stop by John and Mervis. They came in at the same time, but Roxanne has got out way ahead of them. So had a nice quick stop there, and it looks like she is now stuck behind one of the other Grumpy Monkey full team cars, which is either going to be Sass or Nick. Quick look at where Sass is position-wise. That is Sass indeed. Currently in P3. Quickly look at Sean Bingham, who's side by side with Mark Guy coming down into the final corner. A little bit of a sideways action there. Oh, and there's someone off. That is an orange-white car, which might be Dirk. Nope. Who else is in an orange and white car tonight? I'll have to go hunting. Live there, as we see, just going side by side. It's definitely one of the black markers. Peter Geldenes, who is stuck in the kitty litter. For some reason, he's pulled off the track entirely. So, sorry to see that, Peter Geldenes. I'm not sure what's gone wrong. That's unfortunate, Peter. Looks like he's really stuck there. He's not even teleporting to pits for some reason. So I'm not sure what's gone wrong. Maybe we can hear from him afterwards in the Discord chat. A bit of a debrief. So back down now to P10, Sean Bingham from Point Blank Racing behind Rolf Lee's green and white Audi. Guys in the pits, and that's why you see John Mervis just gain a position there. Sean Bingham, I think this is the closest battle on track right now. Here we see him trying to stick his nose in. Oh, that was a little bit of an argy-bargy. Elbows out, coming through the basin. Will he be able to maintain that position? I think they're still pretty much side by side, coming down the hill. More heavy contact here. That didn't look kosher. And it looked like that Sean Bingham. Oof. Oh wow, was he let by, or was that some sort of daring dive back into the corner? So either way, he has managed to stay in front. Sean Bingham, that is, of Rolf Lee. Just behind them we saw that developing of Mike LaRue, BWR. Rolf Lee just using a push to pass there, trying to come down the hill and gain some distance back up to Sean Bingham. Both of those Audis looking a little battered. I'm actually going to try and go on board here with Rolf Lee just looking ahead to Sean Bingham. And you can see the rear end of that Audi look pretty scuffed right now. Ooh, there's some happenings down the border here. John O'Mervis is off track by the looks of it. And it looks like he was turned around. Definitely some contact with some other cars. Unfortunately. Back up to this battle of Rolf Lee and Sean Bingham. Seven Herbs just getting super close to Mark Guy there, cutting back into line. Mark Guy piling on the pressure here. We go on board with Mark Guy now, just trying to make up some time to Stefan Herbst. As we see Rolf Lee dive into the pits, there'll be some position changes in the tower shuffling around there. So there's a little bit of exit curve there, and yeah, maintaining position for now. Dirk Brand has decided to pit. So he's going in. Relatively quick stop, and he is off on his way again. Let's see where he will filter out. Just dropping a couple of positions for now. He's going to round the bend ahead of James Leach. Just. But I think he's going to be under all sorts of pressure now. See the rear end of Dirk's Audi also looking a little crumpled. Oh, there's a BWR car. They're getting a little bit sideways. We saw the tire smoke of the drift. I think it is a back marker because he's getting out of the way of that battle. Good job there. It's Mike McGeer doing well, just staying out of that fight. Just looking now at Hardest Boyser, who's encountering, it's actually closed up rather to Sas van der Westhuizen, but I'm pretty sure there's a back marker in this mix. That red and white car should not be there, because that is Charles Wilkin in the green car up in front. And that red car, not sure who that is. Let's see if I can find out by flicking the driver names on. It is Richard Rahm. So he is staying, there we go, nice and out of the way on the side, letting those leaders through, hopefully. Does not defend his position into that turn. Not sure why he's hugging the inside line there, that's a little bit naughty. He needs to submit that position to Hardest Boyser, otherwise he may encounter the wrath of the stewards. There we go, they get through without too much drama, maybe just a tad. And we've got another position change here, Ryan van Veek on Sean Bingham. Sean Bingham's entering the pits, that's why. Hardest Boyser just using a push to pass here, trying to make up for some lost ground. And just behind them, I'm going to flick onto the relatives again, just so we can see with all this back market traffic coming through. There we can see Nick Hudson, who is currently coming up to the back of Heelton Nickerson. So yeah, so far smooth sailing for Nick. Out in front, doesn't look like there's been too many dramas. Still has 11 push to pass activations in the bag. Peter Geldenhuys is now in the pits. I'm glad to see he's actually somewhat managed to get into the pits so he can start recovering. Carry on driving, not a DNF yet. Go on board now with Hardest Boyser again in P3. He was just behind Sas van der Weste. You can see the multicolored Grumpy Monkey livery car there. Hop to Mike LaRue currently is almost side by side with Ryan van Veek coming down the main straight, and it looks like he's going to have this position done. He's enjoying the inside line there, so he just needs to sort of park it there. Yep, and nothing Ryan van Veek can do about that. It does look like Mike LaRue is now fully out of push to passes. 0 reflected compared to everyone else in the field. Still the hardest, trying to hunt down Sas van der Weste in here. Just want to hop to the pit stops and who's taken them versus who hasn't. So there we go, the top 3, that's Nick, Sas and Hardest, all haven't taken a pit stop yet. Charles Wilkin has, interestingly reflecting 2 stops, it's interesting. And Renier Leach has not yet stopped either. Dirk Brand's done his stops. Unfortunately, there we see Peter Geldenhuys has DNF'd now from the server. Sorry to see that happen, Peter. Better luck next time. And down the order, James Leach hasn't stopped. Mike LaRue's done his stop. Ryan van Veek hasn't. And then from Sean Bingham onwards, pretty much everyone's stopped. I think the 2 stops is a bit of a bug. Perhaps there's an issue with the timing line when they enter or exit the pits, sort of indicating that they've done 2 stops perhaps. But as long as you're not seeing 0 stops, you know, those guys have definitely not stopped yet. This is a back marker, as you can see that little timing board has. I think it looks like Hardest is peeling into the bits. There we go. So he's pulled the trigger. Sas van der Weste tracks on. And we'll be seeing a lot of position changes as a result of that pit stop happen. For now, Stas is essentially released of that pressure. But he himself now needs to decide when he is going to pit. Pit lane is only open for another 3 minutes. So yeah, these Grumpy Monkey cars are certainly pushing it all the way to the end by the looks of it. Maybe just doing a little splash and dash would be my guess. Right down to the last moment. And my bet is we see both Nick and Sass come in very soon. Paul Wilkin is essentially now back up into third. He's done his stop. He's stuck behind Richard Rom again at the moment. Here's a back marker. Looks like he was almost getting blocked there. I think Richard is certainly not doing himself any favors in terms of respecting blue flags. Here we see Nick Hodgson at the top just using another push to pass. With just 2 minutes left of the pit window, surely he's going to be coming in at the end of this lap. You don't want to misjudge and miss that pit lane window. That is an immediate disqualification. So let's see what happens now. Does he peel into the pits? Or does he stretch it one more lap? Does he think he has 1 minute and 30 left to do it? It's either this lap. Surely not. It's cutting it too fine if he doesn't pit now. Anything can happen with back market traffic. He's staying? No, he's coming in. I was like, there's no ways he's staying out. In he goes. And Sass van der Westhuizen will be doing the same. Because he is definitely out of time. Now or never. So we'll take a nice wide line coming up and over the hill. Let's go on board with Sass as well as he peels into the pits. Yes? No. Has Sass already pitted? Let me check the timing board again. Apologies, Sass has pitted already. Alright, brilliant. So we have everyone across the entire field now pitted. Nick was then the last of the stops. He has hardest voices to contend with, about 3 seconds down the field, in terms of threatening the podium. As we flick back down into intervals. So Nick Hodgson currently on his 50th lap. Charles Wilkin is a whole almost 20 seconds behind, so I think that position is quite safe for the time being. Sass van der Westhuizen is 5.5 seconds down on Charles Wilkin, currently rounding up the podium as it stands, but still 9.5 minutes left of this race. And down the field, the next closest battle still looks like Sean Bingham on the back of Ryan van Wyk. They've been fighting almost back and forth this entire race. Through the basin here. Oh, looks like it's a back marker just diving out of the way there. And has allowed Sean Bingham to get side by side with Ryan van Wyk right now, although he's on the outside. Ryan just defending the corner there on the inside line. He's running a little bit wide. Nope, he's fine. Let's see how they get down into T1. I'm going to bump up to Mike LaRue quick, who's just past James Leach. Not quite sure what happened there. Some sort of traffic going on here as well. I think it's oof. Apologies, a Leach car hopping over the field there. I think it was James Leach Sr. There's a lot of side by traffic. Oh, side swipe there. A lot of traffic coming through here in the mid pack. A little bit of argy-bargy as well. You can see that there's a back marker in there of Simon Norkier, as Sass van der Westhuizen has found himself at the back end of all of this traffic, needing to get past safely. There's a lot of heavy contact, but he manages to hold onto it and keep it going. So he needs to be a little bit patient, just recognizing that there's some slow drivers here and picking the right moments to get by. Meanwhile, the drivers ahead, they may even be fighting for position. So yeah, pick the moments carefully. And that's allowed Hardest Boyser in P4 to close up that gap to Sas van der Westhuizen now to less than half a second. So this final podium position very much under threat, but look at that backmarker traffic. I'm sure Sas is going to feel extremely frustrated right now, just sitting behind all of them, trying desperately to get past. Small little side by side here. I'm going to quickly try and flick onto the relatives so we can see who's who in this essentially mess. We've got Rolf Lee. Oh, there's more contacts. That was with Simon Norkier. And that has allowed Hardest Boyser now to go past. And that's got to be incredibly frustrating for Sas van der Westhuizen. Hardest now flashing his lights at Rolf Lee, probably just to give them some more advanced warning, just witnessing all of that that's been going on ahead. And Rolf Lee, oh, spearing across the track. That was a risky maneuver. Not sure what happened there, but he has had to teleport back to pits. But yeah, certainly some hellish backmarker blue flag situations going on here. Where is Sas? Sas is now 2.7 seconds down the road on Hardest Boyser with just 6 minutes left in the race. I'm not sure if that's enough time to make up lost ground. Down to Sean Mavejo, who's 0.8 seconds behind Roxanne Bartle. Looks to be gaining a little bit, must be said. To the back of Roxanne here. In fact, he's having a very good run. Let's just see what can happen into T1 here. A little bit jittery. Both cars almost look like just sort of nervously navigating that corner. Surely there's some opportunity here for... Oh, it's a screamer, and that is not the way to try and get past. It looked like a little bit of a dive. And Sean has come up second best in that attempt there. He's going to look to rejoin safely. And unfortunately lost out a couple of positions from that maneuver. And he might even lose another one from Mark Guy here side by side. Yep, so that was unfortunately risk not paying off. Okay, back up to Sean Bingham now on 0.4 behind Ryan van Veek. Looking pretty racy here. going up and over the hill of the final back straight. It looks like he might have the drag race won down to the inside corner, or maybe not. A little bit of a conservative early braking there. Tucks in back behind Ryan van Beek. Through the S's for another lap. 2.5 minutes left of this race. It's really only a couple of laps left. Let's see, looking up and down the field, quite a few drivers haven't used all their push to passes yet. Nick has just activated another one. Artis Boyce is now fully out of push to passes. Sass has got one left in the bag. He's 4 and 8 tenths of a second down on Hardest Boyce. I still think that gap is too large to catch up in the next 2 minutes unless something drastic happens to Hardest, which can happen. We saw some horrible back market traffic there, unfortunately, holding up a few battles, but it looks like he is relatively open skies ahead of him for the time being. Back down to James Leach Sr. Oh, just ahead of them, sorry. Roxanne Bartle and Stefan Herbst. That position has just changed. There's a minute left in the race. Roxanne has 6 push to passes remaining. If anyone's on the team radio, get on her to activate them. Let's go, go, go. Stefan Herbst activates his, which I think will be his last one, saying 1 remaining. I'm not sure if that's including the current one in use right now. No, it's gone into cooldown and he has 1 left. Simon, meanwhile, looks like he's tucked in behind Sean Veja, 0.2 seconds for position here. Let's see what he can do in the dying seconds of the race. Rounding the final corner. So if you've enjoyed watching the race with us today, you can see the link up on your screen now, simracesa.co.za. Visit the website and follow the instructions to sign up with us, or find our Discord server, get chatting, find out about the racing, what's to come. But Nick has started the final lap of the race. This is Christie side by side. Nope, not quite. Someone else going side by side just ahead. I think that was back marker because it's not reflecting on the tower. So Christie was dying dive there into the final corner of the race for him, but I think he does have 1 more lap to go. Nick is on the final lap and he's rounding the final corner now for his 60th lap. He is across the line for a race win. For Grumpy Monkey Sim Racing, Nick Hostel comes home in P1. Charles Wilkin coming down the final straight now as a solid second. And Hardest Boyce qualified in 3rd. Is going to be finishing in 3rd as well, rounding the final corner now. So good job for him. And unfortunately Sass finishing, just missing out on a podium there and coming home in P4. Dirk Brand a solid P5. A little bit of a wiggle there trying to avoid the finishes as they all stack up at the bottom of the main straight. And looks like just Renia Leach coming across the finishing line now. And that is that. I'm going to go and see if I can find some drivers for an interview. Very shortly, we can see if we can maybe chat to some of the podium winners. They will be exiting the server very shortly. And I'm sure at least Nick will come and have a chat. Maybe Charles too as well. There we have it, the final racing positions up on your screen. Nick Hodson in P1, Charles Wilk in P2, Artis Boyce at P3 rounding out your podium, Sasfeld Neveses P4, Dirk Brand P5, Renier Leach P6, Michael LaRue P7, James Leach P8, Ryan van Veek P9, and Sean Bingham rounding out your top 10. Give the guys another minute or two, see if anyone's going to join. Otherwise, thanks very much everyone for joining. And, look forward to seeing you again in the next round. Here comes Nick and Charles. Let me drag him in. Alrighty, we have Nick and Charles. Hi guys, how's it going? Nick, firstly, congrats on the race win. Looked like a pretty solid race for you. Everything generally going according to plan, except for what looked like the start of the race. We had a bit of a slow pull-off, and Charles jumping ahead of you pretty much into T1 of lap 1, I think it looked like there, eh, Nick?
Yeah, I was surprised that Pole was on that side of the track, but also in general, I just don't seem to be able to launch these cars particularly well, so I kind of always knew that Charles was going to get me off the line. Tried everything and it didn't work, but yeah, luckily I was able to get a good run on him early in the race and then build a bit of a gap.
Awesome. And yeah, congrats Charles again, a solid P2. Unfortunately, yeah, you had a great start off the line there, as Nick said, but Nick seemed to find a way past you again, but you had a solid P2 there, I think. So
yeah,
well
thanks Ryan. Yeah, I think Nick had the pace on me today. I was probably about a quarter of a second off the pace. So well done to Nick. He had a good race, and the best I could hope for was second.
Yeah, good job. Good job. And Hardis, welcome. Congrats on a well-deserved P3 as well. Qualified P3, but I saw there were a few swapping down the line. It looks like you also had quite a close battle with Sass just behind you as well. It did look like in the dying stages of the race, you guys both encountered a little bit of backmarker traffic there, which was a little bit hairy at times. But yeah, ultimately you came through, eh?
Yeah, great race, Nick and Charles. I tried keeping up, and I think we had some backmarkers between me and Charles there, and there was a moment there, and yeah, I'll have to watch the replay to see what happened. And just a shout out to Sass. I think he had a great race. It's unfortunate for the incident that cost him the third position.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was some backmarker traffic troubles tonight that I did see on stream. But yeah, Sass had a great race. He qualified P6, jumped up 2 positions to be P4, and I think he was battling for podium. So definitely a good race for him regardless. But yeah, thanks gentlemen. That was Barbagallo. And the next race up in this series is the finale, Vallelunga. So yeah, we'll have to see how everyone goes with that. The drop round's also going to start coming into effect, so we'll be having a look at the points and everything. Nick, I do know that you've missed 2 races though, so you might be out of the running unless something happens.
I missed 2. I thought I just had a very bad result in one of them.
Okay, maybe that's the case. So yeah, definitely going to be quite close then at the top end of the field. And otherwise, yeah, thanks everyone for joining and having a little chat with me at the end, and wish you all the best for your preparations for your next races.
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Yes.
Cool, man.
All right, cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Yes.
All right, there it is. Thanks everyone for joining us on stream. And yeah, next round in the TC series as Vallelunga. Next race next week we'll be in the SimGP cars. I'll be covering that as well. We're at the Heart Lake Complex, which is a fictional track geolocated to somewhere in France, but it is an FIA Grade 1 track, so it's nice, fast and flowy. So do keep a lookout for that, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks everyone, have a good night.